Thank you for joining us on Salt and Pepper Unleashed. This ain't your grandma's nursing home. Today we're joined by a very special duo, Steve Litz and his therapy dog, 9-year-old mini-husky Aspen. Together they bring comfort, laughter, and endless smiles to the residents they visit. We'll talk with Steve about how he and Aspen became a team, the impact they've seen on the lives of seniors, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Get ready for an uplifting conversation that shows just how powerful the bond between humans and dogs can be. Steve and Aspen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. So, Steve, we're just going to jump right into it. I am curious because I clearly see a very visible and active bond. How did Aspen become a part of your family?
Well, that's an interesting story. Aspen, as you said, is a mini husky. We always had full-grown huskies, and our last full-grown husky died probably 13 years ago or so. My wife and I said, we're done. We travel a lot. We got new carpeting. Our child in New York sent me the worst website on the internet, which is mini-huskies.net.
Oh, no.
Because when you go there, they have pictures of the dogs as puppies, and over the years, I have learned from thousands of people stopping us and petting her, and as a result of all of the therapy work that we do, that people are entranced by her. Mm-hmm. And so when you go to the website and you see she was 4 pounds when in the picture. Mini Huskies are especially bred in North Carolina. So the way that we got her is that back then the waiting list was about a year and a half. I got on the waiting list. I eventually got to the top and lied to my wife, told her I was going to North Carolina to meet with a client, went down, got Aspen, and brought her home. And my wife was not happy, to say the least. I was in the doghouse. And that lasted about a day because we got lucky with her. She was, even back then, the most gentle, kind, loving dog that we've ever had. And so what typically would be a joint decision, getting a dog, in this case was unilateral, but it's the best unilateral decision I ever made.
Yeah, no gray area there. Is either really going to work or really wasn't going to work.
Yeah, and it's has really worked.
So I'm curious, the one night that you spent in the doghouse, did Aspen get to stay in the real house? Is that how she created the bond?
Of course, yeah. She always is on. She sleeps on our bed.
Yeah.
With us. So
you said 4 pounds. So what does she weigh? I mean, you say she's 9?
Yeah, she just turned 9.
Just turned 9. And so she was 4 pounds when you saw her initially on the website. And just so our viewers, our audience, our listeners, that's mini-huskies.net. That wait list is going to grow to 4 years, 5 years now. But so 4 pounds, how big is she now?
About 28.
Okay, 28. And is that a typical full-grown size for a mini husky?
I think so. I think that the website says that they can be anywhere from about 20 to 30 or so.
Okay. And I'm just curious, this is kind of off script, just based off my curiosity. North Carolina, I mean, very geographically specific. How do they, do they just take small huskies and keep breeding small huskies? I
think that they've been doing this for, I guess, about maybe 15 or 20 years or so. And they just breed, they take the runt of a regular litter and eventually they just breed them down.
Yeah. Wow.
And they get to the point where they're then breeding 30 and 20 pound huskies as compared to 60 pound huskies.
Wow. Okay. Now I would imagine, because I know huskies, they're almost, it's almost an illusion because they look significantly bigger than they actually are just because their hair is so fluffy. Have you ever, I'm assuming when she's groomed, she looks like a little wet rat just because, or does her hair even kind of mat down when it gets wet?
A lot of people ask about how she's so soft and groomed so well. We have never once given her a bath. Okay. We brush her all the time. She sheds year round.
Yeah.
And you could make the warmest fur coat in the world out of her hair. And the only time she loves to swim. So if there are lakes or something, she'll go in there. But really the only time, if she's outside and rolls around in something, then we'll rinse her off in the shower. So brushing every day is what we do. And she loves it. She just lays there and she'll lay on her back and let us brush her. And so that's the way we groom her.
Okay. So then, unilateral decision, but quickly became part of the family. Then how did it come to be that you were going to go through the process and get certified and have Aspen become part of the duo in this therapy team?
Yeah. So when she was 6 months old, we took her to a woman in Greenwood that we call the dog whisperer, because we had gone out of the country. Aspen lived with this woman for 2 weeks, and she worked with her for about 3 hours a day. And then when we came back, she worked with us for 4 sessions and taught us how to implement the training that she had instilled in Aspen. So Aspen, really kind of amazingly enough, is fully trained off-leash. The only time she's ever on a leash is when we come to homes, which is, given the fact that we've always had full-grown huskies. Huskies are runners.
Yeah.
Our very first husky, which was a wedding present, was killed on Keystone when my wife was going to come and pick me up at the airport. And the dog got out, ran away, and got hit. And then we tried with some of our other huskies. We tried invisible fencing. One of our huskies ran right through it. They don't care. Aspen and I go 2 miles every day. And one of the many skills that she has is she stays just to my left. And if I stop, then she automatically sits. When we come to a street crossing, she knows to sit. And then I'll give her a signal, and then she and I will cross the street. So that training allowed us to really be several steps ahead of what it took for her and I to become a certified therapy team. The majority of the training that you go through if you're going to get certified consists of just kind of behavior modification. Now, one of the things that we had to do is she had to walk among a bunch of food that was on the ground and not eat the food. That was a skill that we really hadn't worked on, but she is super smart. And so when they told us that was going to be on the test, we gave her a command that is leave it. And she knows when we give that command that she doesn't reach down and get food. A lot of residents at the various homes that we go to like to give her treats. We don't even generally use the T word in front of her because she knows what it is.
She doesn't. She's like, "What are you talking about?"
So sometimes we have to regulate that.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of led us into the whole therapy thing. I had heard of therapy dogs. A relative of mine in Georgia had a dog that was a therapy dog. And so I thought, why not? Let's see what happens. And so we've been a team since she was about a year.
Okay.
And actually, one of the ironies about being certified is that the main company that certified us, I left that company because Aspen and I had gone to the Indianapolis Children's Home. There was another therapy dog there. Hi, sweetie. I know. We were there to visit the kids. And what I've learned over the past 8 years in dealing with this population is that either children are small or the residents of homes are either in wheelchairs or in beds. So Aspen loves to get up and stand up on the bed, to interact with the people. Well, this one facility said we can't have her standing up because that violates our policy. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, the reason that we're doing this is so she can interact with people and they can, have a relationship with her. And they said, well, we just don't allow that. And I said, well, okay, I'm no longer going to be a part of this. It would be great if I could say, this is the company and they, signed off on it and everything. But Aspen and I have 10 homes that we visit. She knows a lot of the people. She almost knows which people she needs to stand up on. If somebody's in a wheelchair and I snap my fingers, she will stand up and interact with them. And it makes the visits vastly more worthwhile for everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about that, just in general, the concept of policies and rules, when the intent misses the mark, it's when it just becomes kind of silly, and it's hard to stand behind those. So I get that, and I respect that, and I agree. That is such a meaningful interaction. That I mean, and her eyes. I mean, those typical gorgeous blue husky eyes. It's like you want that connection, and the kids want that connection. The residents want that connection. So, and you mentioned her being super smart. Is that not kind of an assumed quality of huskies? Aren't they known for their intelligence?
Well, I'd like to think so. I mean, the other huskies that we had they listened, but
Okay.
the first dog decided that she was going to do what she wanted to do.
Okay.
So yes, I think that they're intelligent, but they're also very high spirited.
Yes. So, and you mentioned they're known to be runners. So, and you kind of mentioned, reference a sad story. When I was growing up, we had a husky named Spook, born on Halloween, and Spook was probably 4 years old, and Spook was a runner, and there was an accident, and it was traumatic, and we've moved past that. But our backyard neighbors, they have so we have a full grown golden doodle, and our neighbors have a full grown husky, and our golden doodle gets wore out because they'll run the fence line, and their husky can just run for days, and in fact, you can see the run worn out in their yard because their dog will just run, or it'll pace, and it's just like they're so high energy that they need so much engagement constantly, and so I can totally relate to that in real time through several experiences. But wow, since a year old, so 8 years, you've been doing this together.
Yeah, and she's, I always tell people that if it's 0 and 2 feet of snow, then Aspen is in heaven.
Oh, yes.
She loves the snow, and she's so much more active and will race all over the place, burying herself in the snow. We have a place out in Colorado.
Okay.
So that's her thing, is to go out there, and
Now
we ski, and she runs all over the place.
So I'm assuming for at least 9 years you've had a place in Colorado, or at least have loved
we've
Colorado.
Skiing is a passion.
Okay.
So we have a cabin out in a small town near Aspen, thus the name.
Yeah.
And we go out there every winter for about a month. To
Okay.
ski.
Very nice. Now 2 feet, she probably disappears.
She will bury herself
Yeah.
and then jump up and
Yeah.
run all over the place. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And when she was a puppy and only a few pounds, it was a riot to see her, because then she really would disappear.
Yeah.
And then 10 feet away, as all of a sudden
She pops up like a.
emerged.
Yeah.
And it was great.
As you say that, it's like you can see that image in your mind of a dog burrowing under, and it's like, where are they? Where are they? And then like a pop goes the weasel, up she comes.
Yeah.
So, you talked about children, but I'm curious, how did you get into working with aging adults and regularly visiting senior living communities like Greenwood Village South?
When I saw how well behaved she was around the kids, and especially kids that needed that kind of attention, I thought, well, there's got to be another population that could benefit from this as well. And I called a couple different places and said, hey, I've got a dog, we're a therapy team. We'd love to come and try and see if it works. And it's been great ever since. Jen was at a different facility, then came here, and so we now have 10 nursing homes or assisted living communities that we visit. We actually have visited places in 4 different states. Anytime we travel, I was just in Ohio. There happened to be a beautiful facility right next to our hotel. I walked in and said, Aspen's here, and they said, great, we'd love to have her. So
Now, was that planned or was that just
no,
just
I had no idea.
happenstance? And you're like, well,
There
let's
was-
take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, there was a facility there,
That's
and I
awesome.
thought, okay, maybe they would like to see her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, they're concerned about is she vaccinated,
Yeah.
and I have all that stuff on my phone. And so she and I had a visit a couple months ago, and then I was just there this past weekend, and we had arranged things. They actually created a flyer. Aspen has a website.
Okay.
AspenTherapyDog.com. So they went on the website and created a flyer and posted it, and everybody came down to the main living area, the community area. And so we visited with everybody for half an hour.
Now, can we track Aspen's kind of happenings in real time on this website?
No.
Okay.
You can't.
Okay.
I'm not that sophisticated.
All right.
And it's there really just to kind of give people a
Yeah.
taste of what she's
No, that's awesome. AspenTherapyDog.com. We'll be sure to post that link so folks can check her out a little more as well. So how does Aspen typically interact with residents when you visit?
It depends on the facility. Most places, they know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows who Aspen is. We'll get into that in a little bit, but there are, I don't know, we might, out of the 10 homes, we probably see 500 people or something.
Wow.
Some
What's
of
the
them,
frequency?
we go to 3 homes every Tuesday, so we alternate, and then on every other Thursday we go to another 3 homes.
Okay.
So, in most cases, I just get free reign. I go room to room, knock on a door. Either I know who the person is, or their name is posted outside, and I say, Aspen's here. Do you want to say hi? A couple facilities, for whatever reason, there's somebody who takes me around from room to room. I prefer to do it on my own, just because it gives us a better chance to interact. But I don't care really.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We go. There are 3 homes that we go to every Tuesday, and depending on the size and how engaged the residents are, it might be a half an hour to maybe an hour and a half.
Okay. And so these interactions, so it sounds like they're relatively organic. Kind of what's the range of interaction that you see Aspen and residents having, and can you kind of see the unraveling of the kind of this emotional interaction between the residents and Aspen? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's really the most amazing thing that we've gained out of all of this, because some facilities, one of the facilities is all men, all government assisted, and all severe dementia.
Okay.
Or it can be something where people are living on their own and doing just fine. And she, I think over the years, has almost developed a sense of what is going on with the person. She acts differently depending on the degree of impairment that there might be. And some of the people ask for her to jump up on the bed. Some of the people don't want to see her at all. That's a story that I can tell you about a couple of different people that we've had very interesting situations like that. So when we go to the home, I kind of let her guide me as far as what's going to be happening. But I would say for the most part, we go into a room, the people are absolutely thrilled to see her. She will walk up to the bed or the wheelchair and sit, and then they pet her. Sometimes she'll stand up on the arm of the wheelchair or get up in bed with them. Sometimes she gives them kisses. Again, that was a no-no for the formal certification. But when you see the joy in these people's faces, it's worth every second of it. So she's the one that kind of determines the exact extent and the nature of the visit.
Now, I love that. Again, just letting it kind of evolve organically. But you mentioned this, and you had said something earlier, and this question kind of sparked, but you just alluded to it. You know, there are some folks that, for whatever reason, they're timid of dogs in general, scared of dogs in general. And I think there's some instances where I'm sure there's probably been a bad experience at some point in their life, and now there's just an association. Others, I don't know if there's any actual objective rationale. There's just this kind of, again, the scared, timid behavior. But when you were talking about how well trained she is, and when you're walking, you know, off leash, she's on your left, and at an intersection, she sits and waits. And you know, when I'm envisioning that, I'm thinking, how great is witnessing that for those folks who have this timidness towards dogs, that to see a dog, one so pretty, so elegant, but so well-mannered and well-trained, do you see that have an impact? I'm sure there's kind of the full spectrum, people that, you know, I'm one of those people that you show me a dog, and unless it's, you know, foaming at the mouth, I'm ready to play with it. And there's some that keep that thing away from me. But there's that gray area. And I would imagine the folks in that gray area, you're able to sway a little further to the what I would call the right side of the fence in terms of liking dog. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, it is, and it actually happens to both staff and patients.
Okay, yeah.
One of the great stories involved a woman who I knocked on her door, and she said, "Don't bring that dog in here. I'm afraid of dogs." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Okay, fine." I said, you know, I told them that we come every 2 weeks, and if you don't want to see her, that's fine. And she said, "Well, just keep her at the door." So that's what we did. We left. 2 weeks later, we go back, and she said, as you brought up, she said, "I was bitten by a German Shepherd, and I've been afraid of dogs my whole life. Mm-hmm. I've never had one, you know, but God, she's really pretty." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Rosalind, if you want to see her, if you want us to come closer, that's fine. We can take it as slow as you'd like." Yeah. And she said, "Okay, well, just leave her 5 feet away and hold on to her." So I did. And then, you know, and now if you fast forward 6 months, I knock on the door. Rosalind says, "Aspen, get up here." Aspen comes running up, jumps on the bed, gives her kisses. It's great.
Oh,
and she, to this day, says, "This is the only dog I could ever do this with." So, you know, there's definitely a relationship that develops over time.
You know, in your shoes, being able to see the evolution of that has to be so fulfilling. Can you even try to describe what that feels like?
Yeah, well, for me, that's the best part of all of this is, you know, seeing somebody who, for whatever reason, didn't want to have anything to do with it, and now looks forward to the visits. And if I'm out of town and miss the visits, you know, anybody will say, "Oh, you know, we were so looking forward to you being here, and you weren't here." And so, yeah, that is really one of the very the advantages of being able to see these folks every other week and developing a relationship with them.
I just love that. And it's, you know, there are a few things I think especially when we look at senior living communities, and obviously as acuity increases, it's almost like there are special things that we are exposed less and less to. And I kind of incorporate these into kind of 3 buckets, right? So it's plants and nature, right? Animals, babies and kids. And it's like those 3 things can bring our residents so much joy when they're exposed to and able to interact with. And the fact that you're able to bring that to them and quite literally into their laps is phenomenal. So I just want to express appreciation, not just for what you do here, but just in general, because again, I've seen those interactions unfold. I'm a little jealous of not being in your shoes, of seeing kind of the full evolution of those, but quite impressive nonetheless. And so I'm curious, what is your hope that residents and families would take away, and even staff take away from your visits with them as individuals, but the organization, the community as a whole as well?
Well, yeah, there have just been so many amazing instances of the power of a therapy dog. For me, one of the most fascinating things is how the mind works or doesn't work. For example, one of the men at the facility that I mentioned earlier has no idea who he is or anything around him.
Yeah.
We knock on his door. He screams, "I'm the president, get out." And I say, "Okay, Joe, that's fine." I said, "Aspen's here if you want to see her." So he'll come and he'll open the door and he'll scream again. I said, "Get out." And I said, "Okay, fine." And then he looks down and he sees Aspen and he says, "Aspen, come on in."
No.
And she will, walk up to him. He pets her. The first time, it was very scary for me, and I had a very tight leash because I don't want somebody to do something. He interacts with her. We spend our 20 seconds with him. We turn around to go, and he's back to, "I'm the Pope. Get out of my room."
No way.
So it's like on a dime, things turn. The watching her affect the way that people's minds work is really fascinating to me.
Well, and it's one thing. It's like, as humans develop, they're, even as young children, toddlers, we are able to identify the world around us better than we're able to identify ourselves. And so we have memories of the things around us before we have memories of ourselves. And so it's totally understandable that someone with advanced dementia would recognize that that's a dog. And whatever it is, I like dogs or I don't like dogs. But for him to be able to recognize, not only is that a dog, that's Aspen.
Oh yeah,
that is the power of that relationship, I think.
yeah. I mean, again, who knows? The power that she has. I mean, I have witnessed the power that she has, because these are people again who sometimes they don't speak. Oh, speaking of which, one of the greatest stories of the 8 years that we've been doing this, we visited a woman who had a full-time caregiver with her. The woman was in bed, didn't talk. She had to be fed, and Aspen started jumping up on her bed. The woman would stare out into space, absolutely no movement of any kind, even acknowledgement that we were there. But we kept on seeing this woman, and after about a year, we go in one time, the caregiver is there, Aspen jumps up on her bed, and the woman says, "Aspen's here." What? And I still get emotional about this. The caregiver got tears in her eyes and said, "She hasn't spoken for 5 years."
Oh, I've got chills.
I know.
Wow.
And they called her family. She happened to be from California. I don't know what brought her to Indiana, but the family was thrilled. They videoed it. I mean, it's just it's amazing what can happen. We don't. I have no idea why the mind would work that way. Why all of the human efforts at assisting were futile, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because she's so unassuming and asks for nothing.
Well, now that's a good point. So the first thought that came to my mind is you don't know why, and it's almost like, who cares? Who cares why? When it's that magnificent of an outcome, at some point you stop trying to figure it out and you just welcome what it is.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, but there's multiple quotes around this, but it's the concept of human beings do not deserve dogs. Dogs are I view as the most loyal creatures on earth, and you said it so well. They give everything and expect nothing. And it's that relationship that I think is so coveted. And it's like, I kind of joke around. I'm like, cats or dogs? And that's kind of a litmus test for me is if you say cats, that's fine and all, but you're wired differently because
Sure.
that relationship with a dog and their owner is unlike any relationship. Again, they give themselves so selflessly and expect nothing in return. Maybe a little food and water now and then, maybe some belly scratches when they're feeling real good. But just those relationships and that level of loyalty is so coveted and unlike any human relationship.
Yep, for sure.
So, well, again, Steve, we could probably talk all day about different experiences, different stories, and the impacts that you and Aspen have had. But as it relates to your impact and what you're doing with Aspen, and I'm kind of teeing you up for this one, but I want to hear it in your words. If you, and if you want to put it as you and Aspen as a team could be remembered in one way or for one thing, what exactly would that be?
Wow. Well, yeah, I'll try to answer that as best I can. I was a criminal defense lawyer for 30 years before I retired. And the reason that I bring that up is that it was always my belief that everybody deserves a certain amount of dignity in their lives, no matter what they've done, no matter what their mental state is or things like that. And so I always tried to implement that in my practice of criminal defense. And Aspen has highlighted that more than anything. Sometimes we see people, as I said, that have no idea about anything, but that doesn't mean that they're not entitled to be treated with respect. And I think that Aspen does that. Aspen doesn't care, whether they, even though most people do know her name, but she doesn't care whether they know her name. She just wants an opportunity to interact with them.
Yeah.
And so, I think that that's kind of the takeaway is that no matter how bad off somebody is or seems to the public, that doesn't mean that they still don't have some degree of feelings that ought to be explored and nourished. And that, I think, is what Aspen does, and me, by tagging along, allows to happen.
Well, and you mentioned that. This was another thought that came to me earlier. I'm sure there are some folks that know the duo as Aspen and her handler, or Aspen and whatever, but it's Aspen as the primary and you're the secondary. And I have a feeling you're quite okay with that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I always joke, so many times I'll bring Aspen in, they hadn't seen her before or something, and they'll say, "Oh, you're so beautiful." And I always look at them and I said, "Oh, you're talking about Aspen."
Yeah. Just
so
like an easy.
Yeah.
That's a softball every time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who she is.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who I am, and that's just fine.
Absolutely. Well, again, Steve, I appreciate you coming. Aspen, I know you're over there. I appreciate you coming. We're gonna keep you after and ask you a few questions as well. But again, just such a sincere thanks for everything that the two of you do and the joy that you bring. I am just as I fall into the same category. Second I walked into the conference room here, she greets me, and it's like my mood changes immediately. So again, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to seeing you again.
My pleasure. I'm glad I could do it.
Aspen, if you could give one piece of advice to humans, what would it be?
Give dogs more treats and move to Greenwood Village South.